please.
Well, thank you. I want to start off by being the member who represents the Port of Los Angeles and applauding them for their efforts to go electric. The district is one where we have high air pollution, and from everything I have seen, indicates that electric will help the environment, and so I wanted to take my opportunity to applaud them in their efforts. There's a lot of conversation about, oh, well, it doesn't go very far. When you take a look at distribution from the port and to the port, it's coming from the Inland Empire. That's not more than 150 miles, and so I just wanted to put that on the record, given this is a continuing issue I keep hearing about and the reference to the port. I want to start off by saying that I share the goal of many on this committee and on this panel to reduce America's dependence on oil. I also think it's reasonable to want predictability on EPA regulatory decisions, such as exemptions that alter the intent of our laws. However, I think we need a much broader conversation on the future of the renewable fuel standards. My district, as I mentioned, is 90% African American and Latino. It bears a great part of the burden of our dependence on fossil fuels. We have had to live with urban oil wells, liquefied petroleum gas facilities, Superfund sites, and under-regulated heavy industry. Consequently, we have had some of the highest asthma rates in the country, and it is one of the most heavily polluted districts in this country. No one wants America to move off of oil more than I do. However, we have to be mindful of the unintended consequences of the policies we are putting in place to bring us to a fossil fuel-free economy. The renewable fuel standards was well-intentioned, but we have since then learned from the EPA's own 2018 report titled Biofuels and the Environment, Second Triennial Report to Congress, that the increased demand for biofuels has driven land conversion here and abroad to biofuels to produce corn and soybeans and palm oil. This has led to the national and international land use changes that have replaced carbon sequestering and biodiverse natural landscapes and forests with large corn and soybean farms. Further, efforts to meet the advanced biofuel mandate has led to the importation of biofuels from palm oil in countries such as Indonesia, causing widespread deforestation. I hope that in the future this committee can take up the work of crafting a comprehensive evidence-based policy approach to reforming the renewable fuel standards. Building off that statement, I have a joint ProPublica investigative report and New York Times article titled "Palm Oil Was Supposed to Save the Planet. Instead, it unleashed a catastrophe." Stated November 20th, 2018. I'd like to request unanimous consent to enter it into the record. My question for the biofuel representatives on the panel is, what steps are you taking to make sure that you're not sourcing biofuels from land at home or abroad that has been converted from forest land or natural wilderness to farmland?
Well, thank you for the question. On the ethanol side, which I can comment on, the RFS law itself, the statute, the 2007 statute, includes a provision that specifically prohibits our member companies from using feedstock that was cultivated on land that wasn't already in cultivation at the date of enactment in 2007. If they were to do that, and EPA annually conducts an analysis to see if land has expanded, and if they find that it has as a consequence of the RFS, that triggers all sorts of new onerous requirements, reporting and record-keeping requirements for the industry. What EPA has found every single year when they do that analysis is that cropland is shrinking, and that the amount of cropland under cultivation today is lower than it was in 2007 when the act was passed, and far lower than it was 40, 50, 70, 100 years ago. So this narrative that we hear that the RFS is somehow driving expansion of cropland is not borne out in the data. It is not. There's no evidence of that. Now the EPA triennial report. There's modeling studies and economic modeling exercises, scenario analysis, and when you plug the right numbers in, yeah, it'll give you a scenario where cropland expands. The real world evidence shows that is not occurring, however. certainly in terms of U.S. cropland, and frankly, globally, cropland expansion has not accelerated in the era of biofuels. You know, the trend of cropland expansion globally is today what it was prior to passage of the RFS.
If I might just quickly add, the RFS specifically excludes the use of palm oil. Soybeans are not grown for their oil, they're grown for their meal. And we use feedstocks that come from used cooking oil, animal fats, and oil that exists because we use protein from soy to feed animals and people.
And my time has expired. The issue is, I believe, not how much cropland there is. The issue is how much conversion has happened. I'm interested in that. Thank you, and I yield back.